Chair.
Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I just want to rise to give a short call on the Border Processing Arrivals and Departures Levy Bill. We heard a lot during the first and second reading speech that obviously from the government's perspective this was such an important issue for them that they wanted to put in place this levy to ensure that there was adequate funding to provide protections at our border controls. Well, my question would be, how have we done that till now? Up until now, how have we ensured that we have adequate border protections? Because we've done it without this levy/tax until this moment in time. So this idea that this demonstrates what a priority it is for you really defies belief, because actually it's been a priority to governments in the past without a levy. That is not a justification for introducing something like this. My second question is that surely if this was as important as the government claims, we would have more detail in this bill than we do right now. If it was such a priority, why have we got this shallow framework of a bill rather than the detail that we would usually have in this House when considering such legislation? So I really question if it's the priority that they claim. I also wanted to come to Clause 5, which inserts new sections 140AA. Now that provides that every traveller who arrives in New Zealand on or after 1 January 2016 is liable to pay a levy. So that's basically the part that says the individual liability is on the traveller. I heard one of the speakers on the other side of the House claim that that was another rationale for us having to introduce that is because we've got more passengers coming in. We've got more passengers, therefore we should make those individual passengers pick up this tax or levy. Well, the question that arose for me when hearing that is that actually the risk has always been there. Regardless of the size of the population coming into your country, the risk has always existed. Now, Nikki Wagner's shaking her head. I have just one reference to make to you. Greyland fruit fly. That came in before a levy. That came in with the amount of passengers we happen to be having coming through at that time. Your risk exists around whether or not you've got proper processes in place to stop that from happening in the first place. Now, if this bill is an admission that to date we have not had proper processes in place because we haven't been able to fund them, that's a different story. But I haven't heard that admission from the government yet. My argument is that it's not about scale, it's about whether or not you are properly resourcing your people to do the job. And we've long had a concern on this side of the House that we haven't been properly resourcing our border control staff to carry out the functions we require of them. Otherwise, why would we have had such massive economic threats to our horticultural sector as we've seen in the past couple of months? We cannot afford something like the fruit fly, the Queensland, I've called it the Greyland fruit fly. It is the Queensland fruit fly, but who has found a new cosy environment in Greyland. People have actually recently asked me whether or not we've rid of that problem. The answer is no. Things have gone very quiet. That's only because the fruit fly is in hibernation. It is absolutely still a risk to our economy as a whole, and one that was a massive wake-up call that we shouldn't be reliant solely on introducing at the last minute these kinds of measures as being the mechanism for ensuring we have proper border controls and biosecurity. We know there's been a loss of experience in MPI. We know that that's been a problem across the board. That's been something that Labor's continually raised, and we raise it again here today. Second issue I want to raise really is covered by part 2 of the bill, and that is the amount of auditing that's going to have to go on and scrutinising over whether or not the levy is being recorded properly. Who is going to follow up on that? Is that another job? How much red tape and bureaucracy has been created by this bill? And what will the cost of enforcement in that auditing be? Mr Chair, I think it's a fine question to ask the government there over on that side, who purports to be the government against red tape, certainly introduces a lot of it. So what is the cost of enforcing this bill? Hard to know because of all the lack of detail, but we certainly see that there are auditing requirements. Everyone's required to keep statements, accounts and records. Who's going to enforce that, Mr Chair? So those are some questions. I'd love to hear an answer from the Minister in the Chair if you'd like to respond to me. Thank you, Mr Chair.